Hey everyone, Omogonix here and welcome to part 8 of my tutorial series where I teach you guys how to make a first-person horror game in Godot. So in today's part what we're going to be doing first off is we're going to be adding normal maps to our materials. So right now all the materials are just, they've just got an albedo texture attached to them and that's pretty much it. But I will say that even without normal maps, these materials do look quite alright. And you don't have to add normal maps to all your materials if you don't want to. If you want to have some materials which don't have normal maps because you think they already look fine without them, then yeah, that's totally fine. But yeah, so today we're going to be going over normal maps in case you do want to add them to your materials. So yeah, let's do it. Now, there are a few methods to doing normal maps that I usually like to do. So one method which I'll be teaching you guys first off has to do with noise. So I actually made a tutorial recently going over how to use noise in order to make materials in Godot, because noise can be used for a ton of cool things in Godot, so yeah, I've made a few tutorials talking about noise. But yeah, today we're going to be talking about the normal maps and what you can do with that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my materials. So here I have my materials. Now house material, we'll go into the inspector. So let me just change the color of this to make sure. Yep, so that's this material here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the normal map section of the material. And then what you want to do is you just want to go to where it says enabled and then tick on. And there we go. So now we have normal map enabled. Now what we need to do is we need to go to texture empty and then we can create a new normal map. We'll go new noise texture 2D. And now it's going to look weird at first when you first do it, but all we need to do now is we just need to go into the noise texture itself, then go to where it says noise, new fast noise light, and then where it says as normal map, you then want to tick that, and boom! Now you have a normal map. So as you can see, this applies some bump to our material here. And you can also turn up the bump strength as well, so if you want to make it look stronger you can, if you want to make it look weaker you can as well, so you can adjust those values however you like, but the standard by default is 8. You can also change the normal map scale in the actual normal map section here itself, so if I change this to 0.1, as you can see it's a lot weaker, if I change it to 2 it's a lot stronger. So yeah, so I will say that with this noise normal map, the wood texture, the wooden house texture, it currently just looks like a bit of crumpled paper with a wood texture on it. That's all it really looks like. But yeah, we're not going to be using this method for this house material. I will show you guys the other method of making a normal map, which I will be doing for this material. But yeah, if you want to scale down your normal map size, of course, with the noise texture you can change the width and height as well, so then you can get the sort of scale that you want to with your actual normal map size. And also another thing which you can do is you can tick where it says seamless here, and just in case you have any seams in your normal map, meaning any discontinuations in your texture which then has sharp cutoffs, sort of like with how we do with the albedo texture here. You can actually stop that by just enabling seamless. So yeah, so that there is the basics of using a noise texture for a normal map. So if you want to do that, you totally can. Also, if you want to make the normal maps pop out a bit more, depending on the sort of material which you're changing, you can change the roughness value to sort of make the normal map pop out a bit more. As you can see, there is quite a bit more shine here now to the normal map. It sort of pops out a bit more. But yeah, so now the house looks kind of wet and like a bit of wet crumpled paper right now with this sort of texture we've got going on here with the normal map applied to this wooden house texture. But yeah, so now we'll show you guys the other method of doing a normal map, so let's go do that. Alright, so another good method of making normal maps that I recommend, which I also use, is this site here called NormalMap-Online. So this is the URL for the site, as you can see here. I will include a link in the description as well for you guys to use it. But yeah, so what you do is you load up your image, then it automatically creates a normal map out of it, and you can also, change up the values as well. You can change the height, you can invert the normal map height. You can, change up, just a bunch of stuff here. You can change the strength, the level, you know, all that kind of stuff. You can also change the blur and sharpness of it if you want it to be more blurry or more sharp. So yeah, there's a bunch of different things to change up here, and yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to, so we're just going to reset the settings to default there. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to load up the image which I want to apply a normal map to. And yeah, so let's do that. Alrighty, so here we have the image. So this is the wooden image which I am currently using for my house material in the Godot project. As you can see, it's the same texture here. And so what we're going to do is we're going to make a normal map out of this now. So as you can see here, a normal map has already been generated. But if you think that a normal map is looking a bit too sharp, or you don't really, you know, like certain aspects of it, of course you can play around with the settings here as I showed earlier. For example, I do think that the normal map looks a bit, you know, too strong at its default setting. But you can always just turn it down if you want to. Something else which you can also do as well is you can just have things at their default setting, but because Godot itself already has settings to change normal map strength, you can, you know, do that if you want to as well. You know, just use Godot's values to be able to change it up. So yeah, so anyways, with this normal map here, I'm just going to play around a bit with the settings. And then I don't know if we'll need to invert the height. Actually, the height does look a bit better inverted, maybe. Like if we look on the preview over here, it looks like the wood pops out more with the height added on. Yeah, I think we'll have this enabled. Also with this, do we need to change this at all? Nah, I think that might be alright. But anyway, so we've got this normal map all done now. What I'm going to do is, what you can do is you can, you know, choose the format you want to download it in, whether you want PNG, JPEG or TIFF. I usually go for PNG or JPEG. But, you know, depending on what you're going for with your game, PNG, usually the image file sizes for them are larger, but JPEGs are smaller. So if you want something which is, you know, more compressed, then go with JPEG. But if you want something which is more, I guess you could say, you know, higher quality, quote unquote, then you can go with PNG. You can also apply your name to it if you want to, like would normal map, for example. And then you can just download it to wherever you want to download it to. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to download this normal map to my project, and yeah. Alrighty, so here we are back in the project. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my house material here, and we're going to get rid of this this noise texture normal map, since we won't be needing that anymore. Also, I'm going to turn back up the roughness of my wooden texture. And then now what we're going to do is we're now going to apply the wood normal map that I just made and see how that looks. And boom, there it is. So as you can see, we now have our normal map applied. Things do look a bit, you know, a bit rough at the moment, you know, and by that I just mean that, you know, things look quite a bit sharp. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn down the normal map scale a bit, and yeah, that looks a bit better. Something else which we might want to do as well is turn down the roughness, just to add a bit more pop to the normal map. And yeah, so as you can see, this is now what it looks like. Alright, so I am going to be applying normal maps to other materials as well. So anyways, without further ado, let's go ahead and do that. Alrighty, so here we are, and then we just go to this material here. And then with the normal map, we can just simply turn that on, go texture empty, and then quick load. And then we can add in that normal map. There we go, and boom. Now it does look quite sharp, so I'm just going to turn it down. 0.5, there we go. And then we'll also turn down the roughness as well, and boom. Alright, so now I've got this this other wooden material here. Now I do think that this looks fine already the way it is, so I might not even really have to change up anything. I guess because that's already because I've already got settings set, because it's already, you know, saved my settings from what I set last time, and I think that's why it looks as good as it does. But yeah, so I think I might actually just leave the settings the way they are. And now let's go download this again. I'll call it wood normal map 2. And yeah. Alright, now we're going to do the same thing for the carpet. Alright, so now let's download this. We'll call this carpet normal map. There we go. And then we have the stone material. So with the rug, if I select the rug here, I can go set the normal map for this now. So let's go set it. We'll go set it to carpet normal map, and boom. You can't really see it very too well in this scene because the lighting doesn't really pop as it does in the main level scene itself. But yeah, and then we'll do the same thing with the other carpets as well. Go enable normal map and then apply the carpet normal map. Alrighty, I think that's all the carpets. Yep. Alrighty, so here's how the carpets look in the main level scene itself after applying the normal maps. So yeah, you can tell that they pop a bit more now. Again, you might not really be able to tell that much of a difference, so keep in mind how it looks here with the normal map on. And then what we're going to do is we're going to remove the normal map, save the scene, go back, and then as you can see it doesn't pop now really. But then if we go back and then we apply the normal map again, and then we go back here, you can see it then pops more. So now let's apply a normal map to our material here. So where we have our normal map, we're going to go on, texture, quick load, and now we're going to apply the carpet normal map. There we go. So right now that does look quite sharp, so we can just turn that down, maybe 0.5, there we go. Nice. And then we also have like the bedding underneath here as well, which we can change. We can add a normal map to this, just to see how that looks. Then we have the pillows here. We also have the stone here as well, which we can set. Because hey, we have a stone normal map as well. Well, I mean, this is meant to be metal, but it does use the stone texture, so that's why I'm calling it a stone normal map. And there we go. With the metallic things can, you know, help normal maps pop out more as well. Now the yellow bed, we don't have normal maps applied to the yellow on this bed yet. Normal map, and there we go. Turn down the strength of it. Alright, yeah, now that looks better. See, as you can see, with like certain areas like this with the lighting, you can see how it really, you know, makes a difference there. So if we go normal map on, texture, empty, and then we just go wood normal map 2. Now that applies that, and as you can see it is very, very strong, so let's go turning it down. Might need to turn it down a bit more. Maybe a bit more. And there we go. I think that'll be better. And then we can also turn down the roughness once again. Now let's go to level, and boom. Yeah, I think that looks really good. We'll leave the normal map strength at 1 and see how it looks in the level. And yeah, that actually looks really, really good. Normal map on. And now let's go wood normal map 2. And there we go. So I think a wood strength of 1 might look fine for this. Guess we'll have to see. And let's turn the roughness down, maybe to something like 0.7. And yeah, nah, that looks pretty good. But overall though, the table is looking pretty good. Or the tables, I should say, are looking pretty good. We do have the chairs, which we need to change now as well. Alrighty, so now let's go on to the chairs. Alright, so here we have a chair. I'm going to change up the material. We're going to go normal map on. Then we're going to add the wood normal map 2. And there we go. And I think I am going to leave the strength at 1 perhaps. We'll see how it looks, of course, when we do go back into the level scene. We're going to change up the roughness to 0.7 just to give it a bit more smoothness. And there we go. So there we have the chairs. And as you can see, the way the lighting hits on the chairs, the normal maps definitely do make a difference there. And now let's go normal map on. Wood normal map 2. There we go. We'll turn down the strength of it for sure. And boom. So there's a door for normal map. And I do think that looks alright. Also, as you can see, the knob already has a normal map applied to it. Maybe the normal map strength is a bit strong. We could turn it down a bit more. Maybe 0.25 perhaps. And you know what, I actually do think that looks better. Yeah, it looks better, a bit weaker I will say. But you know, you can have your normal maps however strong you want. Alright, so I'm not going to record myself applying normal maps to the rest of the materials here. I will record myself if I feel like there's something I could show you guys, but I feel like you guys already know everything there is to know about normal maps now, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to apply normal maps to, you know, a lot of these remaining materials here, and I'll get back to you guys in a bit, or whenever I eventually do. Alrighty guys, so I am back, and yeah, I've got all the normal maps done now. I've applied normal maps onto a bunch of materials, but yeah, so I've even applied them onto like the windows here. I probably didn't need to, but I was interested to see how the windows would look with normal maps, and yeah, they look alright, but yeah. I mean, they're probably not something that you need to apply a normal map to, but again, I just want to, you know, see how they look. I've also got normal maps applied onto like the countertops here, which look pretty good from a certain angle. So the next thing which we're going to be doing is we are going to be applying the random password around the house. So what do I mean by that? So as you can see here, we have the safe, and right now the safe does currently generate a random password. However, there is no way for the player to look for that password yet, since it is, you know, not being generated in the actual house itself yet. So what I want to do is I want to make like a piece of paper, and basically whatever random password is generated from the safe, that will then appear on that piece of paper, and it will appear in a random place around the house. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a new scene. It's going to be a 3D scene, and I'm just going to call this code paper. I will turn back on the gizmos and grid as well, just so I can more see what I'm doing here in this empty scene. And then we can go mesh instance. So this will basically just be like a quad mesh. So it's just going to be like a paper, and we're going to go into the transform section here, turn it by -90 degrees, and there we go. The reason as to why I do -90 degrees is because if we do 90 degrees, it's then upside down and invisible. So -90 degrees, because quad meshes, you know, they only appear on one side. That actually does get you what you want there. So I am going to extend this out a bit. There we go. In fact, let's actually get a player reference size in here. We'll get a mesh instance, because I'll probably want to make this actually like pretty small, just so then we won't have to scale it when we do add it into the scene. Alrighty, so I think that might be an okay size, maybe a bit smaller. But yeah, alright, that looks alright there. Okay, so what we're going to do now is I am actually going to be applying a material to this paper. I want to have it have a bit of a crumpled look, so it looks a bit more like paper. So we're going to create a new stand material 3D. And we're actually going to create a normal map, and I'm going to make it out of noise. So I'm going to make a new noise texture 2D, and then we're going to go noise empty, new fast noise light as normal map, and boom, there we go. So right now we can't really see anything because of how bright it is. If I turn down the color on the albedo a bit, we'll be able to see it better. There we go, we can see that normal map a bit better now. And I am going to turn down the height. So yeah, we'll turn down the height. There we go. Turn down the height a bit more, then turn down the width a bit more. There we go. Alrighty, and then with the roughness we can turn this down to something like 0.6 maybe. And yeah, boom, there we go. So with the color I'm going to make this a bit more wider again. Alrighty, so there is our bit of paper that we're going to be using. Now we're going to be creating a new mesh instance 3D. And this will be a text mesh. So for the text mesh, this will be on top of the actual paper itself. And by the way, don't worry, I'm going to be zeroing out the transform of this again. I'm just going to delete this player reference size here. Alrighty, so with the text, I'm just going to call this code_text. And then I'm going to enter in some basic text here, just 0000, so then we can see what we're doing. We can turn this by maybe -90 degrees. Here, wait, let me see what way. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, that is the right way. Alright, there we go. So now with the actual mesh itself, I'm going to turn down the depth of the text to something like 0. And the reason as to why is because we want it to be completely flat on the paper. We don't want the text to be 3D at all. We just want it to be flat. And then we will give it a material as well. We'll give it just like a black material. So albedo, and there we go, just like a black material, just like that. Alrighty, so now what we're going to do here with this code paper is we're going to save it. So I'm going to save it into my scenery folder here. Here in the play UI script, we have the safe password which gets generated here. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to go into the level scene, and we're actually going to now add in the code paper. So we're going to go instantiate a child scene. It will be the code paper. There we go. So it doesn't really matter where I place this right now, since it is going to be randomly placed in the scene somewhere anyway. So in my player UI script here, where we do set the safe password, what we're going to do is we're actually going to go create a new variable. We're going to go @onReadyVar, and this will be the paper text. Wait, no, we'll just grab the code paper itself because we'll probably use it for something else, you know, just in case. But anyways, we'll go code paper equals get_tree dot current underscore scene dot get underscore node, and then we're going to grab the code paper, code underscore paper, and there we go. So now what we're going to do in our ready function here is at the bottom here, we're going to then go code underscore paper, and we're going to go dot get underscore node, and what we want to do is we want to then grab our code text. So we're going to go in quotations code underscore text, and then we're going to do dot mesh because we're going to grab the actual mesh itself, which is the text mesh. Then we do dot text, so then we change the text of the mesh, and then what we can do is we can then set this to safe underscore password, and boom. Now we will actually check if that worked, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go test out the scene. Alrighty, so now if we turn on the light, now as you can see here, the password is completely generated. So yeah, 1468 is the password. So that means if I was to go down and enter that password into the safe, oh, I just accidentally turned off the flashlight. If I go down here and I enter the password into the safe, 1468, now as you can see, the safe actually opens up because that is the password. Alrighty, so now what we're going to do is we're going to place the code paper into a random position in the house. Now what we're going to do for this is I'm actually going to change the parent node here of the code paper. So we're going to change the type of it. Just right click, go change type, and we're going to change this to a rigid body 3D. Now the reason as to why we're making this a rigid body now instead of just a normal node 3D is because I realized that what would be easier, instead of like, let's say for example we want to put the code paper into drawers, right? What I was thinking was we could, like, you know, make the code paper a child object of whatever drawer it's in, but I thought what would be easier is if we just make the code paper a rigid body, like a physics object, so then we don't have to make it a child of the drawers, we can just put it in there, and then when the drawers open up, the paper should move along with it. So yeah, so that's why we're going to be doing a rigid body for the code paper now. So now I'm just going to go right click, add a collision shape to it as well, and yeah. Alrighty, so that there is our code paper now done, and boom. Alright, so now what we're going to do is we're actually going to leave some random nodes. We're going to leave some nodes around the scene, which will basically be the random positions in which the code paper can spawn. So what I'm going to do is in my level scene, I'm going to right click, go add child node, we're going to add a node 3D. There we go. And so now with this node 3D, what we're going to do is we're going to just, you know, place it around into a random location. So the first one will be in the drawers over here. So in this drawer, just right here. In fact, let me just turn off view environment just so that I can see all the lighting and stuff like that. Alright, there we go. And I can just rename this to rand_pos, short for random position. And then I'm going to duplicate it by pressing Ctrl D, and then I'm just going to move it into this next drawer here. There we go, and boom. And then we can do the same thing with the other drawers as well. I'm going to be focusing on the drawers first. Okay, so right now we have 18 random positions set up, and I am just going to leave it at 18 for now. There are, there are a bunch more positions where we could put code papers. Right now I've just been focusing on the drawers. So yeah, let's get right to it now. So what I'm going to do is I am going to go into my code paper, and we're actually going to create a new script for it. So we're going to go new script, and we're going to leave this, where should we create this? Yeah, that's right, in the general scripts folder. There we go. Alrighty, so now here's what we're going to do. So we're going to go @export var, and we're going to be creating a variable, an array variable, which will contain the node 3ds, which will determine the position of our code paper. So we're going to call this positions, and then we're going to do the 2 dots, array, and then in brackets, node 3d. And there we go. So now down here, we're going to be doing our ready function. So we're going to go func ready. And then what we're going to do, oh, and something else which I forgot as well, is we should do an @onReady var called RNG, and this will equal to random number generator.new. There we go. So now we're going to go var chance equals RNG dot randy underscore range 0 to positions dot size -1. So let me explain what's going on here in this line. So first off, we're creating a variable called chance. Now the reason as to why I called this variable chance is because usually when I'm doing RNG related stuff, it has to do with chance. So, you know, by impulse, I just wrote var chance. So we have var chance equals to rng.randy underscore range. So what we're doing is we're picking a random integer from a range of integers, and the range of integers that we'll be picking from is between 0 and whatever the size of our positions array is. So if you've got like 5 positions in your position array, then that would mean that the size would be something like 6. So then we just do like -1 afterwards to then get the proper number of how many there actually are. So yeah, so basically it's just choosing between 0 and the max amount of positions we have in our positions array. And then what happens is we'll then go global underscore transform dot origin equals to positions, and then we want to do the brackets, and then we want to write chance, since that's going to be the number of what position we're choosing. And then afterwards we're then going to go dot global underscore transform dot origin, since we're going to be setting the code paper's transform origin to the transform origin of the position that we're choosing. So yeah. And by default as well, we will be setting the paper to off, since we don't want the player to be able to find it at the start of the game yet. We want the player to be able to start to find it once they find the safe. So basically once they get that task trigger here. So in this task trigger, what I'm going to do, this will be to enable the code paper. So we're going to go add export var enable code, and this will be a bool. The reason as to why we're adding an extra variable to this script is because we have multiple task triggers in our scene, and obviously we don't want all those task triggers to enable the paper code, the code paper. So that's why we've got now a bool here that we can enable and disable to determine which triggers we want to be able to do that. And obviously it's only one trigger, so yeah. So then down here in the enter trigger function, we're going to do if enable code. So we're checking if enable code is enabled. Then what will happen is we'll then go get underscore tree dot current underscore scene dot get underscore node code paper code. Oh wait, we need to do it in quotation. Sorry, in quotes code underscore paper. And then yeah, there we go. Then we just go dot visible equals true. All right, and boom. Alrighty, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go back into my level scene here, and now let's find that task trigger. There it is. I think this is the second one here. Then we'll just turn this to enable code, and boom. Alright, so now what we need to do is we now need to actually go to our wait, where's the code paper? Alright, so here we have our code paper. So what we're going to do here is, as you can see, we have our positions array. And I'm basically going to add 18 new slots here, because I've got 18 different positions that I want to fill in. And so basically what you want to do now is you just want to fill in your positions. So I'm just going to enter in rand pos, and now I'm just going to fill this all in. Alrighty, we've just got 2 more, now 1 more. And there we go, boom. So now we have all our positions filled in. So now what we're going to do is we are going to quickly test this out to see if it all works as intended. If it doesn't, then of course we will need to make some changes. But, you know, it's just trial and error at the end of the day. Alrighty, so now let's actually test it all out. So here we are. Alrighty. So if I go and we ring the doorbell 2 times, then we can enter the house. Alright, so now let's activate the trigger and boom, so now that should make the code paper visible. So now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to search around for the code paper to see how everything all worked. Alright guys, I'm starting to think that my plan here didn't actually work, because I can't seem to find the bit of paper like at all. So what I'm thinking is either it's fallen out of the world, or perhaps something's gone wrong, so I'm going to go check right now. Alright, so what I'm thinking to debug this, a good idea to debug when you're trying to look for bugs and stuff, is you can just go like print, and what we're going to do is we're actually going to print the chance of what we get, so then we know what position is actually chosen. Now, in order to make sure that the drawers here, the counter drawers here aren't being shown, what I want to do is I want to remove those positions actually. So random position 12 can be removed for now, because these counters can't actually be opened at the moment. I will add functionality to them, but yeah. So we'll just remove those positions for now. We'll add them back later, and then we can just delete that. There we go. And then what we're gonna do, so now that we're printing chance out, we should probably like print it as a string though, because it's gonna be an int. Now let's do this. So as you can see, it's chosen position 5. So position 5 is over here in this drawer. So that means that theoretically the code paper should be in this drawer. So here's what we're going to do. So then we go in here, and now we have activated the code paper's visibility. Wait, it's right there. Well, here's what I think happened. So what I think happened is that this code paper, it was supposed to spawn in the drawer, but then it decided, oh wait, no, I'm going to just spawn on top of it. Alright guys, so I think I figured out what it is. It's because of how we have the draw collider. That's why. So yeah, so basically what I did was I just moved the code paper into here to sort of test like, is it because the paper's too big for the drawer or something? But nope, it fits perfectly in there. So then I was thinking, so why does it spawn on top then? And then I figured it out. It's because of the actual draw collider itself. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the drawers scene, and I'm going to change up the box collider which surrounds the whole drawer. So we're going to just put that up like that, perhaps. Alrighty. So then of course, to make sure that the player can't go underneath the drawer, we're going to duplicate this collider. We're going to move it down like this. And then we're going to make this a unique box shape, so then when we change up these values, it doesn't actually, change up the values of the other box shape. Alright, so I think that should probably fix up our issue now. So now let's actually go test this out again, and hopefully everything actually works as intended this time. Alright, so this time it's in position 0. So if you're wondering where position 0 is, that is right over here, in this room. Okay. Well then, let's go to position 0. Now where's it gone? Alright guys, so I have an update on the code paper. I ended up, basically figuring things out. So you can probably notice right now that, there are a few changes here. Like I've got, a new change here in the script and stuff. So let me explain what I'm doing. So basically, with our code paper, what I did was, in the solver section here in the inspector menu, as you can see, I've turned on the contact monitor. And I have also turned up the amount of max contacts this rigid body can have our code paper. And the reason as to why is because when our rigid body, our code paper, when it collides with something, right, that's why we turned on the contact monitor, so then we can actually detect when it's collided with something. What will then happen, so if we switch over to the node tab here, we actually have a new function called hit_obj, which will play on the body entered signal here. So when our body touches another rigid body, that's when this signal here will play. And then so in our script, as you can see here, I've got a new variable called posobj. So this is the position, this is like the object where we want our code paper to be tied to the position of it. And so with the hit_obj function here, what we do is when we hit the body, so we collect that body's, we collect that body as a variable. Then we go pos underscore obj equals to the body that we hit, and then freeze equals true. So that means that our code paper is now frozen, but its position is now going to equal to whatever the body equals to. Since down here in the physics process function, as you can see, if pos obj isn't equal to null, meaning if it does equal to something, then the transform origin of our code paper will be set to whatever the position obj's transform origin is. So the reason as to why I did this is so then when our code paper spawns inside of a drawer, when it hits the draw's collider, it will then just be with that draw's position all the time, so then it doesn't fall through the drawer or anything weird like that. But yeah, so let me just show you all as an example what's currently going on here and how it all works. Alrighty, so as you can see, I have now found the code, so when we pull out the drawer, the code moves with it as well. Now as you can see, because the code does equal to the transform origin of our drawer, it is floating a bit above the ground of the drawer, but that's okay, we can fix that up later on. All I'm worried about right now is just making sure that our code paper's position gets randomized and it just stays how we want it to, wherever it gets randomized. So as you can see here, the code is 7052, so then that's what we need to enter into the safe. And now what we're going to do is we're actually going to be placing more positions around for this code to randomly generate in. So I will go do that, and then I will return. Alrighty guys, so I have added in the final lot of positions. So right now all the positions are just inside of the drawers and the counters. I don't know if I'm going to have the random positions anywhere else, but yeah, I just plan to have them in the drawers for now. So anyways, something else which we need to do in this part is we actually should probably make the counters openable. Since, you know, the drawers are openable, but I haven't made the counters openable yet. So how about we go do that right now? So for the counters, it's going to be very, you know, similar to how we did the drawers, if you remember how we did them. So what we're going to do is, with the collision shape here, see how we have this static body 3D? Well, what I'm going to do is we're going to go into the drawers scene here, and we're just going to grab the collision shapes from this scene here, so we're going to copy them. And then we're going to get rid of this collision shape on our counter, and then go to the static body 3D here, paste as a sibling. And, oh wait, wrong thing. I meant to go paste as a child, wherever that shows. Yeah, I think we just go paste. Yeah, there we go, that just pastes as a child automatically. But yeah, so obviously we do need to scale these collision shapes here. But yeah, let's get to that. So let's go make unique, just so then we're not changing up the actual draw collision shape. And then we're just going to then scale these how we want them to be. So I think that this here is a perfect scale for the bottom collider. And then for the top collider here above the drawers, that is pretty good too. That all works out as well. Alrighty, so for the drawers themselves, if you remember, what we do is we just select one of the cube meshes. Then we go select onto where it says mesh here, create collision shape. Then we want to create a static body child, which will be a tri-mesh. And then boom, as you can see, we now have our collision. So then we're just going to copy this and then paste it over to here. And boom, now both of our drawers have collision. Remember, so then that we can interact with these drawers, we do need to call these draw static body 3Ds just drawers, or draw. Let me go check what I've got here. Yeah, I've just got draw in my drawers scene, so we're just going to call it draw here. And then same thing with this one, and there we go. Alright, so now we just need to do the animation player. Now for that, what we're going to do is we're actually going to copy the animation player from our first draw. So I'm pretty sure this is our, this is our right draw here, or our left, then right if you're looking in this direction, but yeah, you get what I mean. Alright, so now we just want to paste this as a child, go paste, and now, yep, the animation works just like that. So yeah, it's pretty easy, you know, we're just converting stuff from our drawers scene over here to our counters, so it pretty much just works the exact same way. Paste, and there we go. And boom. So now that should all work out. Alrighty, so I think that should be them counter draws done. Now let's actually go test out the scene and see if they all work. Something else which I forgot to do is I forgot to add the actual draw or door script onto the drawers. I think it's a door script. Yeah, it's a door script, I'm pretty sure. So we just need to add this to the drawers parent scenes as well, just like that. And boom. Alrighty, so now when I open up the drawers, yep, everything works here, so that is good to know. Alright, so now we have our counters openable. Alrighty guys, so one of the last things we're going to be doing in this part is we are going to be decorating the outside area where the player starts. So what I'm thinking is that this can be like the sort of front yard here, and then we can have like, you know, a big fence going around it. I was going to do like a road and stuff as well, but and like other houses on the other side, but I feel like that'll be quite a bit much work for just a, you know, a tutorial. So what I'm thinking of doing is we can just have like a fence going around the front yard here. We could have like, you know, grass, and then like a fence gate where the player comes through. So yeah. Alright, so what we're going to do first off is we're going to grab the floor here. I'm just going to call this grass, because this is going to be the grass. So with the mesh instance here, with this material, we're just going to get rid of that, and we're going to create a new stand material 3D. And now, we are now going to add a grass texture. So I do already have a grass texture. This is a picture which I actually took myself. And then we're just going to scale it how we want. So maybe something like... So there we go, I do think that that looks pretty good. So now we are going to add in a fence. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to like duplicate my grass here. And then we're actually going to then scale the transform here differently. So I'm just scaling the X on 1. Then since it's going to be a tall fence, we're going to make this maybe Y5. And then yeah, we'll keep the length as 15. Alright, so I'm just going to call this fence. There we go. And we will change the texture of this, of course. I do have an actual fence texture which I can use. Is this a little too tall? Yeah, that is a little too tall, I feel like. I think we need to shorten these fences a bit. Maybe 3 or 4. Alrighty, so here we have our fences. I know they're using the grass texture right now, but we will be changing that on. We will be changing that. Alrighty, so I have this metal tin texture, if I can find it. There it is. Alright, so this is a picture which I took, which is going to be for the fence here. So with this mesh instance, we're going to make a new material, so we're going to get rid of that. Go empty, new stand material 3D. In fact, you know what? Instead of doing that, let's actually make a material in our materials folder, because it might be something we might reuse. For any material you make that you think you're going to reuse, I recommend like creating it in like a materials folder. So go create new resource, just stand material 3D. Alright, so now we're going to create a new stand material 3D. It is going to be for the metal fence. Alright, so now we're going to add the metal fence material to the mesh here. And then we're going to add in our albedo texture. It's going to be the metal tin. There we go. Alright, so now we're going to change up the UV scale of it. So on the x-axis, we'll probably do something like this. Yeah, I'd say that looks good. Yeah, that is actually looking pretty good. So now that we have our metal fence material, I'm going to now add that onto this as well. Then we're going to add that onto this, and then we're going to add it onto here too, and boom. So now we have our metal fence material completely done. So now we're going to do like a fence gate. There it is, the door. So we're going to get our door here. I'm just going to like duplicate it. And I'm going to call this gate door. So now, I don't know how the metal fence material would look. We'll apply it to this gate door here. Gate underscore door. Alright, there we go. And now for this, we're just going to go right click on it, go make unique. Yeah, I think this could look like a good sort of material. Something like this. But yeah, I think that looks alright for like a fence gate type thing. Also, something else which I forgot to do as well, I just realized, is I forgot to make it so then our regular metal fence material here, I forgot to make it so then the roughness is down and that it's also metallic. I forgot to do that. And then we're going to do the same thing with this metal door material here. Going to turn down the roughness of it, and then we're also going to turn up the metallicness of it as well. And there we go. Now with the actual knob, we're not going to do the regular gold. I'm just going to do like a metal. Just sort of makes more sense in a way. Alrighty, so that there's going to be our quote-unquote gate door. I know it just looks like a regular metal door, but oh well. This is what we're going to be working with here. Also, it is so dark with the metallic materials. I'm going to find a way to light them up a bit better soon. Alright, so in our level scene now, we're now going to add in the gate door. Also, we are going to put these into a child node like the backyard stuff here. So we're going to add the gate door now. Oh, wait a second, I was doing the wrong thing. We need to go instantiate a child scene. Gate door, and there we go. Alright, so now we're just going to scale up this door here. Alright, so we've almost got the gate door on now. Alright, so now we have our metal door here. So what we're going to do now is we're actually going to make like a light source for the outside here to put onto the gates, so then they're not completely, darkened. So here's what it currently looks like with the environment. So the player will start out here, and they will have a flashlight, of course, so of course they will be able to, shine around, but I feel like it would be nice to just have like a few lights out here maybe. So what we're going to do is I'm actually going to make a new 3D scene, and I'm just going to call this, small light, or outside light actually, we could call it. Outside light. Add child node, mesh instance 3D. Alrighty, now I've got to put this down here. So I'm just duplicating that cylinder mesh, and now I'm changing it to a, what should I do, sphere or capsule? I think I'll do a capsule mesh. A sphere mesh. And it will have a particular color to it as well, so I'm just adding a new stand material 3D to the light now. And then we got to turn up the emission. So I'm probably going to set it to like maybe a bit of a yellowy color. Also, by the way, you can turn up the energy multiplier to sort of make things look more brighter if you want it to look brighter. So do keep that in mind. Alright, so now we've got the outside light here. We're going to save it into my scenery folder. And now, of course, we do need to add an OmniLight 3D as well to the scene. Alright, so now we're going to add in the outside light. So I'm going to scale this down. Alrighty, so we have our outside lights here done now. So I'm liking this little simple sort of, front yard we've got going on. It's very basic and simple, but I might even do some, trees and stuff like that soon, but for now we're just going to leave it like this. What I am going to do as well is I am going to add a normal map to this, to the fence here. For now I'm thinking that we could just use like the stone normal map for this. The stone normal map. Yeah, I think this will look fine for now. Let's just turn down the scale of it since it's not so sharp. And yeah, I think this could work for now. Although, actually, wait, no. I actually have a better alternative. Let's actually use a noise texture 2D. As normal map, and there we go. Then we just make it seamless, and boom, now we don't have any seams. Can also change up certain aspects like the frequency, which that just makes things look a lot more rougher. But then again, you can always, just turn down the scale of it, sort of get what you want out of it. Yeah, I think this looks alright. I think I'll actually probably use this. Also, just thought we could do also an outside light in here too. Alright, so as you can see, I've moved the player more towards the fence gate now, but I'm also going to create like a stone path going towards the door as well. So let's just quickly do that. Alright, so with the mesh here, we're going to then change it to a stone material. Oh wait, no, my house material 2 should be the one. There we go. Alright, so now we're just going to go make unique. Alright, so yeah, we've got the stone path here now, which now goes towards the house. I just realized I forgot to do the collision shapes. I guess that isn't the end of this part, sorry guys. We need to still scale the collision shapes, of course, I forgot to do that. So what I recommend, since we've been doing a lot of duplicating, when you do grab a collision shape and you try to scale it, as you can see here when I try to scale it, it actually scales out other collision shapes too, and obviously we don't want that. That's because they use the same box shape, so what you want to do is you want to go make unique, collision shape 3D, and boom. So then we have our grass here, going to make a unique collision shape out of that, and then we're just going to scale out this. So we're gonna have to fix this up. Go down, move that up, and there we go. So what I'm thinking of doing here is I'm thinking of like copying the value of this collision shape, then perhaps adding it to this one over here to see how it goes. And no, it surprisingly did not go to plan. Here, how about if we do this? I think this will work. Yeah, you know what, that'll work. Move that over there. Move this down here. And there we go. Alright, so I think now the collision shape should be all good. So now if we actually go test it out, we shouldn't just fall through the floor. Alrighty, so here we are in the front yard, and everything looks alright. So as you can see here, we got our metal tin material with the normal maps here, which look pretty good. Then we got our fence door, which I just realized I forgot to lock it. You can literally open it up. I'll have to lock it so then the player can't open it. Oh, and also I forgot to add the normal map to the metal door material as well. I will have to do that before ending this part. But yeah, then we can just ring the doorbell 2 times. And I might even do like a few bushes and plants in the next part as well. Alright, now let's enter the house. And here we are. Look at how weird the reflections look in here. It looks so weird with the SDFGI. That's why I was thinking of maybe changing it up and, you know, using reflection probes or voxel GI, something like that, which I think will probably be a better, you know, solution for global illumination and reflections. Because SDFGI is just sort of, you know, what I'm using for now, but I might change it up later. Alright, so there's no point in searching the drawers since, you know, we're not going to find anything in them. But yeah, so here's how the place is looking. I think it looks, you know, pretty decent. Alrighty. Alright, so now we just got to figure out the safe password in order to open up the safe. Oh, there it is. Alright, I found it. 6094. Alright, so now we're going to go into here. 6094, confirm, and boom. As you can see, it now opens. Alright, so that's the game so far. So right now, we have full functionality for the safe, and we even have, you know, the passcode and all that sort of stuff. So yeah. Anyways, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Bye bye.